Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Callie, and today I'm going to go through my most anticipated reads for the next 3 months. So I meant to do this by season, which technically April through June is still spring because it starts the end of March. Either way, I'm going to go through the next 3 months, my books that I'm the most excited to get, books I've already pre-ordered, and everything in between, anything that just sounds good to me. So starting off in April's a really lax month. I only have 2 books that I'm actually really excited for. The first one being Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. This comes out April 5th. This is supposed to be like a very magical hotel. Not sure what the plot actually is. I heard magical hotel and I got really excited because I have just there's so many things that can be done with the magical hotel. It's also got very 1920s motifs to it. And I've started going into books a little bit more blind, just kind of picking up reviews and different tropes that are in there. Because I've been reading so much that I know kind of what I gravitate towards. And this seems really unique and I'm excited to jump into it. The last one for April comes out April 19th, and that is Sofi and the Bone Song by Adrienne Tooley. I'm really excited about this because I really liked Adrienne Tooley's debut, which was Sweet and Bitter Magic, that came out last year. This is her new book. I really liked the way her writing style was. She wrote a really great sapphic romance within the magical world. This is a similar sapphic romance in a magical world. And I believe this one's got necromancy in it, which is something you don't see as often as I really wish we did. Because I think necromancy is a really fun magic system to tweak and mold. And I love to see how it usually goes. So I'm excited for this one. Now moving into May, there is an exponentially larger amount of books for this month, for May. So starting off with May 3rd, which is actually my mom's birthday. So I have 3 books for it. I have The Book of Night by Holly Black. This is her debut into adult fantasy. A lot of my favorite authors have been making this switch, and I'm really excited to see how Holly Black does with that transition. Up next, I have I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. I read Red, White, and Royal Blue a couple years ago and really liked it. I have not had a chance to read One Last Stop yet, but I know I really liked her writing style. Her romance was really nice. This, similar to One Last Stop, is another sapphic romance, and she always has this weird twist to her books, so I'm excited to see how she will incorporate that with the Shara Wheeler book. Next for May 3rd, I have Forging Silver into Stars by Brigid Kemmerer. This is her newest book that is coming out within the Curse So Dark and Lonely world. This is a spin-off in the future. So, and we're following one character who was a young child in the original trilogy as they are growing into an adult. And I love spin-offs like this because while we still get to see the world that we know and love, we're following a whole new story and it doesn't feel overplayed, nothing feels dragged out. It's a way to make worlds like this that we know we love fresh and new. So I'm excited to see this. I met Brigid Kemmerer a couple months ago and she was hyping up this book. So I'm really pumped to get my hands on this. I did lie, there's 4 books for May 3rd. The last one that I have for May 3rd is Inheritance by Elizabeth Acevedo. I've read every single Elizabeth Acevedo book and I have given all of them 5 stars. I have no idea what this book is about, but I know it's going to be profound. The writing's going to be amazing and it's going to make me cry because it's an Elizabeth Acevedo book. I love her books. She switches between writing books in verse and writing them in novel form, and she does both extremely well because I read her novel form first. I read With the Fire on High first, and then I went into The Poet X and Clap When You Land, and they're all phenomenal books. So she is one of my auto-buy authors. Moving on to May 10th, I have one book, which is Starry-Eyed Love by Helena Hunting. This is book 2. This is the companion to When Sparks Fly, which came out last summer, which is just her new companion series following different love interests. And this one we're following 3 different sisters. So I believe each sister is getting her own book, and I liked book 1. It wasn't as steamy as some of her others, but Helena Hunting is really good at writing the emotional connection, and that's why I've fallen in love with her as a romance author. Up next, on May 17th, I have Twin Crowns by Katherine Weber and Katherine Doyle. This book follows 2 sisters who are separated at birth. One is still the princess and has that very responsible air about her. She's willing to sacrifice herself to a brutal marriage, to a kingdom, to save her kingdom. And then we have her sister, who is I think this is going to be a play on Princess and the Pauper, but they're actually siblings. She knows that she's a princess and she is coming to take her sister's crown. So I expect a lot of emotional back and forth, a lot of mental games within this, and I fell in love with the cover, so I'm really excited for this book. May 19th, I have Glow by Raven Kennedy. This is the final book in the Guild series, which I'm so excited for. I need some answers. I'm terrified. I'm excited. I really like this series. You know, we're following this girl, this King Midas-esque magic system. Oren has become an amazing character. The growth of the characters along with the escalation of the plot is really great, and I need some resolution to the series. The last date I have is May 31st. The first book that I am looking forward to is A Game of Retribution by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the second book in the Hades perspective of the Touch of Darkness series. I really loved A Game of Fate, which was our book 1. They are correlating to the exact same story, but we're getting Hades' perspective opposed to Persephone's, which Hades does so much shady stuff that it feels like a whole new story. Like it doesn't feel like a carbon copy just with the guy's thoughts. We're actually getting more background into the lore and how Olympus works, the other gods. Persephone doesn't usually deal with the other gods as much as Hades does. So we get all of that within the Hades book. So I'm so excited for this next one. The last one I have for May is another sequel, and that is the Merciless Ones by Namina Forna. This is book 2 to the Gilded Ones, which I read an arc of it 2 years ago, and I loved it. I have my own copy of it. I fell in love with this world. It was so vibrant and lush. So I've been waiting a whole extra year for this sequel, and I am so pumped for it. I've already pre-ordered this one because I'm just so excited for it, and I just really I love this series. I think it is very underrated, and if you like dragons, high magic, high stakes, warped political systems, I would highly recommend the Gilded Ones. And finally, moving into June, June is a bigger month typically, and I have a lot of sequels for this month. The first date being June 14th, I have The Blood Traitor by Lynette Noni. If you've been on this channel for the last 6 months, I've fallen in love with the Prison Healer series. I'm obsessed with it, and I gave the first 2 books 5 stars. I am desperately waiting for Blood Traitor. I just love this world. We're following a girl who has been in this desolate prison since she was 8. And then finally this stranger comes about and she has to embark on these magical trials within the prison. And that's just book 1. Book 2 explodes our world. And I'm just so excited because Gilded Cage almost imploded at the end. So I don't know what to expect from Blood Traitor, but I'm so excited. Next I have This Wicked Fate by Kaylynn Bayron for June 21st. This is the sequel to The Poison Heart, which I read in November. And this book was so cool. This is a modern fantasy where we have our main character, Briseis, who can manipulate and almost talk to plants. When a relative suddenly dies and Briseis gets this estate in her name, she goes and she starts learning about her birth mother and her birth family and starts to understand her power a lot more, while also kind of opening an apothecary, and it's all really cute. This book was such a wild ride. I loved the thought of plants. It reminded me a lot of Layla from Sky High. It's a very niche reference, but I really loved the plant magic. I wish there was more plant magic books because that was so well done. The last date I have for June is June 28th, and the first book that I have is Blade Breaker by Victoria Aveyard. This is the sequel to Realm Breaker, which I read last summer, and I really liked. It's like a Lord of the Rings, but if the first Fellowship failed miserably and we were left with the dregs of the world to try and fix the problem that's happening. And it was all done really well. I really like Victoria Aveyard's writing, so I'm excited to see how this series continues. The last one that I have is The Dream Runners by Shara Thakrar. She wrote Star Daughter. I think that came out 2 years ago. And I loved her world. I think her plotting needed some help, but I know that Star Daughter was her debut. But I loved the lore and mythology that she was able to write, that I knew that I would still continue to read her books because they can only go up from Star Daughter. So this is another Hindi-inspired story. I believe this is a standalone as well. It sounds really cool. It's exactly what the title says, Dream Runners. They're these types of magic that can infiltrate dreams and inceptionize kind of things. So I'm excited to see what kind of lore is going to be woven through this story and how everything's gonna go. So those are all the books I'm excited for the next 3 months. I've pre-ordered a couple of these already. So if there's any books you're looking forward to in the next 3 months, please let me know down below in the comments. I am always looking to add more to my collection. And that's gonna be it for today's video. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, with the occasional Sunday. And I'll see you guys in our next video. Bye!